Alright, let's do this.
All right, ready? Look as fat as possible. Just a reputation to maintain. We should sound fatter eating tacos while we're done. Hey, we're two fat guys.
And we just watched 4 more Disney films.
Sure did.
This time as part of our classic Disney set, which included Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi.
Yes.
So all from the 40s.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So they're all the next films chronologically after Snow White. We're going to do all the main films, as we said, chronologically. So as you know, they come. We're putting them in order of their release. So a little bit after, Snow White was a huge success for Disney. Just a massive, unprecedented
after they
success.
got all of the money in the world.
Yeah, they just get like tons of money just rained down on them. It was also well received by critics. Disney actually received an Academy Award from the Academy of Motion Picture Sciences. Basically, it was an award for holy fuck, did you see what they did? Like, he made a whole movie animated. Like, did you guys see this? It was actually really cool. They gave him a statue and then 7 little dwarf statues to go along with it.
I had forgotten about that. I think I'd heard that a long time ago, and I totally forgot.
And it's actually, that's one of the main parallels with Pixar, that we're not doing the Pixar films, but the same pretty much same journey happened to them. Like, they took forever, and they fought really hard, they made this film, and the Academy gave them an award for, like, holy crap, did you see what they did? How did they do
Toy
that?
Story?
Yeah, for Toy Story.
Nice.
He got a Holy Crap Award. So, started with Disney, though.
Holy Crap Award.
Yes. Right, he got the Holy Crap Award. He took all his boatloads of money and he built a new studio, sort of away from things.
Beginnings of an empire, really.
Yeah, he bought a whole campus, so he had a whole surrounding area. A lot more space than what they had. They were really cramped before. Now they had plenty of space for all their animators. They were able to hire more people, bring in more talent. And with the size of his operation growing, his ambition also grew. He didn't go rest on his laurels. He wanted to keep pushing animation, keep discovering new things.
Let's do a Snow White sequel.
Yeah, like from the get-go, I mean, with his shorts, he was doing really ambitious stuff. Like, yeah, they were mass entertainment, but he also was like, well, what other interesting things can we do? He, like we talked about the multi-plane camera he developed and really pushed the development of that. He was really just interested in pushing the bounds of animation as an art form and as an entertainment and getting it further and further. So, and he didn't take a long time either. They were very productive. From 1940 through 1942, he produced 5 more feature-length animated films, which is just
God, yeah, they were all.
which is insane. We're talking about 4 of them here because one of them goes on sort of our next set just thematically, but. He produced 5 films from 1940. Well, they released 1940 and 1942. He started working on them, obviously.
Yes, immediately after, I assume.
But still, that just going into that many overlapping productions right away is insane. Not to mention the fact that they did a couple productions alongside that, associated productions that we're going to talk about in separate videos. So we did additional animation on top of that. Plus, this whole time they were still producing shorts, and there was just an incredibly prolific time for the Disney studios. And it's why great things started coming out. So, the first film in this one we're going to talk about is Pinocchio.
Yeah.
This one, for both of us, I think hit a lot of nostalgia. A lot of people I talked to were very surprised that Pinocchio was the second one, because first off, it seems so polished.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like all of these classic ones, they really run up against a lot of the 50s ones for me, and like maybe some of the early 80s ones, just because they all came out before I was born. So,
Yes.
when I was a kid, all of these movies existed. And I never really had a reason to think about the times in which they came out and all that. But Pinocchio was number 2.
Yeah, personally for me, Pinocchio was the one from before I was born through all the films that happened before I was born. Pinocchio is probably the one that I knew best, and I don't know if it's just that maybe my family particularly got attached to it, or some reason it stuck with that.
It's the one we had on VHS that we watched a bunch. Yeah,
but I mean, it came around that that is the one, and it's not surprising. It's a very well made film. There's some really great stuff in this. I want to talk about because it's one of the iconic shots. I actually watched this in my animation class. There is this great. It's just this huge track through the town that Pinocchio lives in that shows the multi-plane camera, also just great animation. Essentially, it's this big sweeping shot that you wouldn't see in like Hollywood live action films of coming through trees, looking over bird's eye view of this town, coming down. You see people running in the streets and people going to work, and there's buggies and little children running, and then it sweeps over to more streets and buildings are coming past it, and it's zooming all the way down to Geppetto's shop, and it's just a beautiful piece of art. The way they pull this off, and I can't even think about all the work that had to go into it because it's unless you had like a 40 plane camera, it had to be sort of a couple shots stitched together. Like, all right, we got to freeze this here. Now this bottom plane is become the top plane of the camera shot, and
which, especially when you're thinking about animation, like that's way easier to do in animation than it is in live action. If you were stitching together a bunch of shots like that, not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
But it's also real handy to go like, and stop there, and we'll just move this up into the front. Like,
well, that also means you have to work the scale. Like, all right, well this is changing this plane. And
like,
just the quality that they got out of that, which really, we gotta give props to the director. I did want to mention this, actually. Fun thing about the director of Pinocchio, there was this sequence of the dwarves eating soup in Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. There's actually a whole song with it. I forget what it's called. It's something about the soup.
Yeah.
And it was completely animated. It was a finished piece of film, and Disney just scrapped it. The story needed to move along. It was dragging, and he just scrapped it. And it killed this animator. He was so disheartened that he was going to leave. And Walt's like, look, just stay. You can be the head animator on the next film, Pinocchio. And by all accounts, if results are a measure of how good he is, this guy is amazing. Crap. I don't know his name off the top of my head, so feel free to internet it yourself, internet. I do want to talk about one of the things that stuck with me and is still good is Pleasure Island in Pinocchio, which is just sort of a horrifying nightmarescape. I
feel like a lot of the kind of stuff that you wouldn't be able to get away with nowadays. Necessarily, just...
before
young kids like drinking and
before it gets horrifying. Yeah, it shows the kids, like, it delivers the moral in a very heavy-fisted way. Like, it's these kids smoking and drinking and breaking things and just doing all the stuff kids aren't supposed to do and parents tell them not to. And then they're all horrifically transformed into donkeys and sold into working like coal mines and stuff.
Salt mines, come on.
Salt mines, yeah. Well, that's some of them. We don't know. Some of them are going to the circus, which actually, whatever. To see how Dumbo goes. Maybe it's all right. But it was. I remember being horrifying as a child. Just like, all right, I know when we get here, like stuff gets really scary and weird, and it still does. It's especially the transformation you see of Pinocchio's friend is. It's just horrifying to watch him go through it, and he knows it's happening. And,
and like some of it's done in shadow, which is really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool animation techniques. I also think Pinocchio was a huge step forward in terms of musical complexity. The songs, like there are songs in Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. There's plenty of songs. Hi-Ho, iconic. It's a great song. We all love it. Some of the other songs are just kind of fall away compared to complexity. The love songs, they're nice. Someday My Prince Will Come is a very good one, but the opening songs. Yeah. The song in the forest that she sings. It's this though. I feel like all the songs, starting with "When You Wish Upon a Star," which obviously has become such a phenomenal success, and to this day is instantly recognizable by people of all ages. Yeah. But then we have the song that Geppetto sings with Little Wooden Head when he's dancing with all them. It's very good.
I got no strings.
You got no strings. You get An Actor's Life for Me that he sings that.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the music takes a step towards, and that's where, obviously the Disney Renaissance is all about that. It's all about bringing these sort of big, full musical quality to these films. So we have that in there. So Pinocchio is just a huge step forward visually and really enjoyable. Like to this day, I enjoyed watching this one. Not that Snow White was bad, but this one I feel was more an entertaining experience for even a modern audience. Which brings us on to, speaking of entertainment, though, the next one is Fantasia.
Which I felt that this was more an art piece than entertainment. Not saying it wasn't entertaining. I mean, there are a lot of parts in that that are very, very good, but it was an art piece about art, which I really enjoy. I like when things are about things. You like when things are about things? Well, the things that they are about.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There we just saw an animation with the like an artist drawing a picture that's coming to life, and it's all happening on there. That sort of meta commentary, which Fantasia had quite a bit of. It was, we have this music, this classical music, and the artists just wanted to kind of let stuff happen from that. And kind of come up with their own narratives, their own scenes, their own just weird light art pieces that they feel from that music, which I thought was a really interesting take on a lot of this stuff. And it's definitely different and unique as far as certainly is the stuff that was happening at the time. But even now, it's not really something that you see too often.
Yeah.
But it is a spectacle. It is big, and there's a lot going on. It's a series of shorts. Some of them get pretty dark, and like it's not like fun, wacky Disney all the time. It is. This is some music, and it's Night at Bald Mountain. Like it is.
Yeah.
It is not messing around, and I really liked that quality about it. Well, it didn't, obviously thrill me narratively as much as some of the other films. It is a hell of a thing.
Yeah, this movie is very important that you see where it comes from Disney's roots. In addition to his Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Goofy cartoons that were very popular, one of his most popular series was called Silly Symphonies, which was just sort of these music pieces. Sometimes they would have no dialogue at all. A lot of them were nature studies, so they'd be sort of things like trees dancing or animals in the forest, which obviously some of the shorts of Fantasia and going forward, Bambi and things like that, you can see where that sort of has grown from. But this is sort of a direct descendant of those. Fun fact, though, Silly Symphonies might sound familiar. It's because it was directly ripped off lovingly into Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes from Warner Brothers. Just lifted the name, like, hey, people already know this name. We're just going to do another alliterative title with humorous music. So, the Silly Symphonies. This film in itself, in both its execution, as you talked, and the animation is very experimental in nature.
Yeah.
The opening short, where it's sort of the lines reacting to the music and sort of just a visual representation of music, is sort of in keeping with this very experimental nature of early animation. And it's seeing, what it is really just trying to put visuals to this sound, which was just very fascinating especially in this marathon, since we're sort of seeing the evolution of animation. And specifically Disney animation, it was really interesting to see that, because that's the sort of stuff that I imagine the animators really sunk their teeth into. Whereas I'm sure that they do enjoy drawing the dwarves and the funny bits with nose popping over the bed.
Yeah.
This is the high art of it. Like, while some of them were grunt workers, I mean, everyone to a certain extent was an artist working on these, from the pencilers and inkers, all of them in it. So the experimental nature of it was really interesting. Plus, Night at Bald Mountain is very dark. It's something that you wouldn't really do as a cartoon.
One thing I liked, which I thought was very interesting, was it was either after or during the intermission, was the
jazz?
The score. Yeah, where they have, like, oh, we have another visitor, special guest, it's the score. And, like, it was just this line that came on and represented the, what is that called?
I don't know. I'm not the right person to ask that.
Well, I was hoping you would. This is awkward.
Essentially, it shows like the sound waves.
Yeah, the sound waves.
So it's like a neutral line, and like as sounds
not
happen, the orchestra. Whatever they give it time. So like as sounds, you would get the waves coming out from this line, showing visual of actual scientific visual representation.
Yes, like this is what that sound is, and then spicing that up, like making it fun, like using that shape. To determine how you animate it, and it was really cool. I thought, just as
this is great, because
as a nerd,
if you ever read about the sort of the principles of Disney animation, a lot of it is how you give life to things that don't have life, and that's a great study of it, because this is a line, and even the movement of it initially is just, this is scientifically what this sound is shaped like, and then let's give a little personality, because this is a horn, and now they're doing different sounds. So it's very much at the root of that. Just briefly, you mentioned sort of how we found it more as an art piece and less as an entertainment. I think it's sort of dated to film at that time. Film, in a large part, they did sort of traveling shows. We're like, all right, this film comes into town, and it's set up at this theater in town, and you go see it. Much like an actual symphony would come, or a concert.
I guess that's true.
Or
like,
Gilbert and Sullivan shows in town.
I was like, even at the time, symphonies and concerts were something that were much more prevalent in
because they don't have TV.
Culture.
People don't you want to take your kids out for a night of entertainment. You might go, see vaudeville or something, but that's a little.
Yeah, and so really, this is just like, hey, you guys like going to concerts? Well, check this shit out.
Yeah, like parents, you can enjoy the classical music. Kids can learn about classical music, and also you can be entertained by these great art, and your kids could be terrified by Bald Mountain. So that's...
And you get to see something visually. It's engaging in an entirely different sense than
regular symphonies maybe do if you listen, because that's what the first piece was. It's like, here's what you might see if you closed your eyes and just listen. And then they sort of guided you more directly, like, well, imagine if you did this, sort of encouraging people, like, hear the story and the music, and now we're going to help you see it.
Yeah.
So Fantasia.
Even just talking about it, I like this movie way better. Like, I didn't dislike it, but
It is a work of art. It takes dissection. I think really looking at it and thinking about it makes you appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Dumbo.
Dumbo is adorable.
First note, he's just an adorable kid. So this movie, like, while I remembered a lot of bits of it, like, I remember a lot of different moments and sequences and a lot of shots. There's some iconic shots.
That's how I felt about Pinocchio.
That have lasted,
like little bits
have lasted forever through animation. But I really couldn't, like, I know that he's an elephant that flies, and that's about all I could have told you about the movie. I'm like, yeah, I know he's an elephant, he got big ears, and he flies, and here are some really cool shots and sequences that are in there. Yeah. And I couldn't have put them together for the life of me, trying to remember. So
that said, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, it was not the most plot. It was not the most like plot hero's journey. You have to go here and accomplish this quest. It was more, sort of, once again, really cool animation. There's some great stuff in there with the Roustabout song. Mm-hmm. There's cool stuff. There's great character stuff with the train and all the animals. Great music with Mr. Stork and Baby Mine.
Oh yeah.
We got to talk about Pink Elephants.
Oh my god, yeah.
Pink Elephants is
There's a lot online already about the Pink Elephants scene.
Yeah, but Pink Elephants is the shot that shows, like, hey, they watched what Canada was doing in early animation. Like, you can find old experimental color blot sort of movement stuff that is the Pink Elephants. It's stuff morphing into other stuff, into sort of free-flowing narrative moving along with sound. It is the part that when I see it, I'm like, yeah, this is experimental animation applied to narrative in a way that makes it accessible, but also really interesting as art. Yeah. Sort of like some of the stuff they did in Fantasia, but inserted into a story.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we want to try out this thing, we'll just put this in here real quick.
Plus, on top of it, great music. Yeah. And great way to get there, too, by having the main character get drunk. Like, all right, well, he's drunk, his perception is distorted, let's do really cool distorted animation. Because you can't just do that regularly. People are like, well, you're just shitty at drawing elephants. Like,
Which, man, they're not. Can I say there's a lot of elephants in this?
Yeah, and they do a pretty good job. Yeah, you said it felt like a really long short, which I could see.
Yeah, like just in that it didn't. We're in a what you typically consider a feature. There's the large beginning, middle, and end, but there's a lot of hills and valleys throughout, and this I felt didn't have those as much. It was more padding. It wasn't nothing was really driving the story along so much as it was just, here are some more events and some things that are happening, which gave it that impression that it wasn't, that it was a long short as opposed to a short feature. Because I mean, it's only like 70 minutes long.
Yeah.
Jonah Hex length.
Yeah, it's one of the shortest on the marathon. I know that. Still a lot of really great looking animation in this.
It could be even shorter. It might just be like
it's 63.
Yeah, it's like 63 minutes. Yeah,
it's just over an hour. It's long enough to be considered a feature, but it's not by much. I'm sure they had 2 or 3 shorts at the front of this one when it was touring. But yeah, Dumbo, it's adorable. Some great sequences. As a film as a whole, it's not quite as put together as some of the other ones, but there's no individual moment that I could blame on and say, oh, well, you got to cut that, you got to change that.
Yeah, it's like, and when I say padding, and I don't mean that in like just filler. Like, the things were interesting that were happening, but they didn't. As far as the narrative is concerned, it didn't really push it along, I felt. Yeah,
but there's the pink elephants marching and Dumbo in his mom's trunk. That's going to stay forever. Yeah, that one's going to stick around for a long time. I actually just saw they did on Mother's Day, like Disney had released, here's a series of Mother's Day cards. So it was a bunch of like
awesome
classic issue ones, and that was just one of them, which is Dumbo in the nose. And I was like, yeah, that's
that
great.
one. I just want to touch on. I really like the sequence when Dumbo's trying to like hide behind his mother's leg, and like the mother, it's just the two of them playing. Mm-hmm. And the mother just like totally like what? Oh, where are you? Oh, and, like reaching behind him because he's a kid and you can fool a kid, and it's not that difficult, and they think they're really clever.
Yeah.
But just watching these two elephants like have fun, like you can see the relationship between them, and hella good animation. Like the fact that you can evoke that kind of emotional response out of animation at all, to me, is still mind-boggling because I don't have that ability.
You don't have that skill set. Yeah,
has way so far
much
out of my skill set.
Anything that I don't have a skill set for is magic to me. So there's still some things that I'm just like, that's magic. So You spoke about how good the elephants looked in this one.
Yeah.
Talking about realistic animals, though, next up is Bambi.
Oh, jeez.
And this is when I was thinking of like, okay, what do I want to say about this? It really hit me that this is Disney's first real adult take on animals. Like, yeah, there is still a little bit of humanization at times, and they do some really cute stuff and some cool character things, but they want to present. They don't have humans. You don't see humans.
Yeah.
Man is a character, but he's not. You don't see him. It is a gorgeous study of nature, and they want for these very realistic animal movements and shapes, and it feels like they felt like, all right, we've earned this. Like they did a lot of animal shorts, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
We know animals. Yeah.
Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, they just those shorts, those were their shorts. That's what they got popular on, these sort of cartoony animals. So I feel like the first few films, they were like, all right, we have to do people. We have to show them we can do people, real stories. People like to connect to people. They don't want to keep doing animals the whole time.
Yeah, it was like, because even like Figaro, the cat in Pinocchio, was very cat-like, but he also had that little bit more humanization than something you'd see out of Bambi.
But this one, they feel like, all right, we did Snow White, we did Pinocchio, we had some very successful, fully human characters with lots of human cast, humans interacting. We've earned the right to do animals. Now let's give them something they haven't seen us do with animals. It is an adult take on animals, and they like I said, they earned it.
Yeah.
And it is great. The visuals are just stunning. They did. You can tell they did a lot of studies in the forest. They did a lot of reference shots because the forest is great. Another, the lighting in this, in the opening, there's some panning through trees, and you just get, in addition to the multiplane, you get some different lighting effects because it goes through like a meadow, and as the tree line opens up, really complex stuff going on in the visuals on this one. A few fun things we want to talk about though. The children voice actors in this.
Such a good choice
For Thumper and for young Bambi and the other young animals, especially Thumper. That's because he has the most lines.
Yeah, if you would have asked me beforehand, like, well, what should you go with, child actors or like adults who can sound like children? I'm like, well, adults who can sound like children probably know how to act a little bit better, but.
But it was so it was not acting. It
wasn't, and that's
innocent in delivering
so
these
good.
lines. And Thumper was just this kid who was reciting stuff his mom said, and you said this, and sort of the way he paused and had to think about things. You can tell, like, this is a 4-year-old trying to go, all right, how do I put sentences together and remembering how they're built?
Yeah,
and it endeared me so much to these characters, and it was so fast because. Bambi was one that I didn't really remember. Like, I know, like, all right, Bambi's mom does, and there's a Thumper.
Because when you're a kid, it's just like hearing other kids talk, and you're like, whatever.
Yeah, like, and there's Thumper, and that's about all I remembered about this going in. But the way they do it, Thumper and Flower and all the other young animals. But it was just, when the little kids start talking, I was like, man, this is adorable, and it's great. So it was a great choice. A lot of really funny little cute bits. Once again, with that, sort of similar to the Dumbo hiding behind the mom's leg. There's a lot of fun little things of kids playing with their parents, and also Bambi on the ice.
Oh my god, that was one of my favorite parts. Is Bambi just trying to figure out how ice works, and Thumper a few days older.
Yeah, like the streetwise, like I'm a slightly older kid. Let me show you the ways of the world, which is also a great just sort of story.
Yeah, and just the two of them trying to get both of them working to try to get Bambi on his feet. Was really good. Just like the animation, just like at a point where as an audience member, like you're just rooting, because it takes a while, and you're just like, come on, you can do it. No, that's not gonna work. Nope, your legs are crossed. and it wasn't like I wasn't just waiting for it. It didn't seem tedious, but it got me excited. It was like I was really rooting for him. Was pretty special. However, spoilers. I don't know if we didn't.
I've already said.
Did we do spoilers?
I've already said Bambi's mom dies.
Did you? Oh, that's right. You mentioned. Yeah. Well. So spoilers back then.
Yeah.
And also, for 70 years ago.
Yeah. So Bambi's mom gets killed by man.
What?
So very surprising to us, though.
It was the fact that it goes right from that into a Happy Spring song. This is a big time jump.
Yeah, there's a line where the King of the Forest tells Bambi's like, your mother is gone, like she can't help you anymore, she's not going to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And then they don't even give you time to think about it, and it cuts to spring, and there's the jauntiest fucking song they can trot out there.
Oh, it's so happy, and so I gotta think it's we don't want kids to dwell on this too much.
Mm-hmm.
But then as an adult, I was like, give me a minute, Jesus! Like,
I mean, it's also
I need to get past that. Like, I need to mourn.
That also may be a function of the time. At the time, that's pretty heavy subject to breach, even for a live action film, and it might just be that the audiences didn't have enough trust to allow that to happen. Like nowadays, we can have that sort of thing. We can have the opening to Up, which gets you to the very depressed place and lets you feel it before it moves on. That's 70 years, 70 years later.
Yeah.
So we have a lot more time as an audience of knowing what we'll accept as a movie and what we won't accept in a movie. So it was a very abrupt change. The only thing I can think is that they wanted to move on and they didn't want kids to wallow and cry and derail the film. And you get this happy song distracting.
Or really ask questions too much, like...
Yeah, like, why can't... Because they don't say your mom's dead, she got shot to death.
Yeah.
They say your mother can't help you anymore. Your mother can't be here. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
So I think the adults know what's going on. They don't want the kids to say, "Well, why can't the mom help?" Like, "Oh, there's a song going on. I can't ask questions."
Yeah.
Which it's not necessarily bad. It's just I would like we as the modern audience would like a little time to dwell on it because we're terrible people. So I just want to talk about a few trends from this set of films.
Yeah.
As we said before, innovation in animation. It's one of the things that Disney is always going to be striving for. So a lot of it, what we're going to talk about is sort of what they pushed in animation this time, what new things came out. Hopefully there'll always be something new. Hopefully Disney doesn't let us down. Really going to their experimental roots, sort of expanding on the stuff they were good at, pushing themselves where they weren't good, pushing with people, and then pushing with realistic animals. Also really interesting is the study of the plot. One thing I noticed is that even when it doesn't have a plot, even like Dumbo, which we feel like didn't have as strong of a plot as maybe the other ones.
Yeah.
Moving from Snow White to these ones, they realized that the plot really needs to be focused on the main character. Think about Snow White. Snow White, the queen poisoned her, she goes to the forest, and then the dwarves have a lot of funny jokes until she gets poisoned, and then the prince immediately shows up. Mm-hmm. Her plot happens right here, and then a bunch of stuff in the middle, and then her plot happens here. With Pinocchio's trying to become a real boy, so... even though it's not sort of at the same sort of arcs we'd have today in plot, it's like, all right, this is Pinocchio's his day at school, and then he's trying to do this to become a real boy, and then he's trying this, and he's learning this way, and same thing with Dumbo. Dumbo needs to be accepted by society, and Bambi needs to learn how to be a man and rule the forest, and he's going to be king of the forest one day, or prince of the forest one day. So they did realize, they focused like, okay, our plots are about our main characters, we need to focus in on them. And we can have other characters do things, but it needs to always be about this main character.
Yeah.
So Thumper could be cute and adorable, but it has to be in service of teaching Bambi something, in getting Bambi to a place that Bambi needs to be. And so they're slowly getting better and closer to sort of a more modern take. I'm really looking forward to the point where it just goes, that's how movies work now. Like where I'm going to hit man, that was a 3-act structure, I feel this and I see that, and sort of my brain goes, that's a movie. Because right now, a lot of them, even to an extent, feel like a lot of Act 2 stuff where it's like, okay, here's this small section, okay, this, and then this. Pinocchio is a great example of that, so is Bambi in that. Like, all right, well, Pinocchio going to school, he becomes an actor, he gets out of that. Like, oh, then he goes to Pleasure Island, and then his dad's in the whale. While that's all an arc of him becoming a real boy, it's not like this plot leads into this, leads into that. It's sort of like, here's this adventure. You could have them as shorts. Like, you could have a Pinocchio TV show, and this week, like, he becomes an actor, and oh no.
Whoa, wacky.
Oh, he got out of it. Maybe next week he'll become a real boy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bambi. That's one thing I felt, too. I feel like Bambi, we didn't have the problem with the plot with Dumbo we did, and I think it's the time jumps. Dumbo could have happened over 3 days, for all I know. The plot of Dumbo?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I see young Dumbo, he doesn't really change in size, and even though things happen, it could happen over just a couple days. Bambi, we know, takes place over years, so when they do sort of these little segmented plot things, I'm like, all right, well, that was... I got to see Bambi as, a 1-year-old, and then as a 4-year-old, and then as an adult, or a teenager and an adult.
However dear lives work. Yeah.
So those jumps, they made the plot feel more natural, because I'm like, well, of course we have to jump. Like, I can't expect him to be struggling with the same thing a year later.
Yeah.
So that I think really helped the pacing, and it's just important that they are trying things to the plot, and you can tell that they're trying to find that perfect formula. Although it's very entertaining. Yeah. None of these comments they're making on plot are saying that's not entertaining. All these movies I enjoyed watching.
However, the next set of movies we watch are not going to be
as plot heavy.
Not going to be full feature length plot.
Yes,
heavy.
they're not a full narrative arc. There are what's called the package films, they're commonly known as. It's an era where they released 6 films in a row, I believe, that were all made up of short segments. So it's more sort of like, hey, here's our shorts, and it's really interesting. Like I might try to do a little bit of research and see why this happened, why they had so many in a row.
It was because of the war.
The
war was going on. They had a lot of incomplete plots, but they wanted to keep making stuff, so they didn't have time to do a lot of developing.
Good job.
And they went in and made these series of shorts.
Well, it sounds like we had something to talk about that next time.
Yep.
Let's see how it goes. So
someone did their homework.
Look forward to the pack. Well, then we better do the homework for next time. So we look forward to that next time. We also will eventually have coming up
the first section of the
associated productions, which there was a little shake up there. Some of our lists have changed. We
Yeah.
updated some things. But so far, I'm having a blast this marathon. We're calling it Disney Delight. And
Absolutely, yeah, that's true. Because this is not the comic book movies. We're not sitting through any Nick Fury, Agents of Shields. We're not.
Knock on wood. I haven't seen Home on the Range yet, but
so dear to my heart. Oh yeah, no, that's one too.
yeah, it was nominated for an Academy Award, so for some music, it won one.
Really?
Yeah.
So dear to my heart.
Yeah, we'll talk about that though when we talk about that. So that's it.
That's it.
See you guys next time.
We still need a sign-off phrase.
Figaro, 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 Figaro.
Mama's little baby loves
Shonen,
shonen.
Mama's little baby loves shonen bread. That's not a good sound phrase. When 2 fat guys talk about stuff, no one cares except Clayton.